Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to GameSpot's Best of E3 People's Choice Awards Kickoff Special Extravaganza Palooza. I'm your host, Chris Waters. I'm joined by Kevin Van Ord and Tom McShay, and we are here to set up the People's Choice Tournament that's going to determine the best game of E3 this year, as determined by you, the voters. Guys, we've done this before. When did we do it before?
Last year's Game of the Year.
Last year's Game of the Year.
The Reader's Choice Game of the Year.
That's true.
And the winner for that was Far Cry 3 because it had a really easy road to victory.
The road to victory is what this is all about.
Yep.
Are you dissing Far Cry 3? It won because it's so good.
And we've got the contention already kicked off between our two color commentators, Kevin Van Ord and Tom McShay. Now, folks, if you didn't tune in for our Reader's Choice last year, this is how this is going to work. Right next to me, I've got this trusty bingo machine filled with 32 numbered balls. We've got a list of 32 games handpicked as candidates for the best of E3. What we're going to do is set up a bracket. Based on the random pick of the balls, we're going to go match by match. Tom and Kevin are going to sort of comment on the matchup. As Tom said, it's all about the road to victory. And then we're going to see how this shakes out and then get started with voting, which begins on Friday, June 21st, this Friday on GameSpot.com/bestofe3. But without further ado, let's get to the first matchup. I'm going to fire this thing up.
Okay. I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Hit the switch. The thing starts blowing, and we're going to pick two numbers. Laboriously. On this thing. All right, cool it. All right, gentlemen, the first matchup is number 11, Dying Light, versus number 30, Thief.
Ooh.
Well, they're both dark.
They are both dark. Now, remind us what Dying Light is.
So Dying Light is made by the fine folks who brought us Dead Island and Dead Island 2. It's basically a parkour run away from the zombies game, kind of akin to Mirror's Edge.
Really? That sounds delightful.
Yeah, that is a weird word to use for that. And I know that I think it was Jonathan Toyad played at E3. So it's a little rough right now, but what they showed is like really promising because it's a game about running from zombies.
It's a Techland game. Of course, it's rough.
Yes, that's kind of their MO. But
Yeah.
Thief
looks anything but rough around the edges based on what I saw. But I don't know. Thief is interesting because it looks really cool and it looks gorgeous. But you know, sometimes Thief fans, you know, they're a little picky. So it's like, do we want these sort of modern conventions in our Thief games? So it should be an interesting matchup.
And that's made by the guys who made Deus Ex Human Revolution, which is an outstanding game.
Yes.
So, I mean, the early matchup clearly favors Thief because it's both an established developer and an established IP, but Dying Light is nothing if not innovative.
Could be interesting, could be a slow fan favorite there. Let's get the next matchup coming out of the bingo blower. And here we have number 4, Bayonetta 2, facing off against number 18, Murdered Soul Suspect.
So Bayonetta 2 is by far the best thing I played at E3.
Really?
By far.
Did you get to play a lot of games at E3?
I didn't play a lot, but I played like a dozen games at E3.
That's a fair amount.
Bayonetta 2 is incredible. It is like Bayonetta, except it's 2. And that's all you really need to know. It's an incredible game. You've played it before.
What do you mean incredible? Like the gameplay,
It's
the
super
visuals,
smooth. It moves at like 60 frames a second with tons of explosions and effects going on. It doesn't slow down for a second. It just is like the definitive 3D action game, and it's not even done yet. I love it. What's the other game? It's not as good.
It's Murdered Soul Suspect.
Oh, God. Well, walk us through this one, Kevin.
I can't because I know so little about it. I feel like you actually know more about this game than I do.
Well,
Why are you potting this up? I mean,
well,
Chris,
I hosted
tell
a
us
demo
about
for
Murdered
Soul Suspect on the stage, and basically it's Ghost Trick Phantom Detective by way of LA Noire. And if you don't know what Ghost Trick is
that's
about,
right.
It's about a detective. And what Murdered Soul Suspect is about, a guy gets shot, but his ghost remains in the world. He has to solve his own murder. He's a detective, though, so you do this by way of investigation. You get to talk to not living people, but ghosts, and investigate the environment for clues. And I thought it looked really cool.
Yeah, I'm
But
disappointed
again, you know.
this matchup because this is one of those games that I'm kind of giddy for because it sounds. I mean, I love Ghost Trick. I mean, that's like a GameSpot office favorite.
It's a favorite, yeah, for
but,
sure.
but this game, it looks unique. It looks interesting, and one of these is going to die, and it's going to be Murdered Souls. That's sad.
It's not looking good for Murdered Soul Suspect, according to Tom McShay. And here we go with the next matchup. Coming up the pipe. Again, folks, if you're curious what the reference is, we've got 32 balls in here. We've got a list of games in alphabetical order. speaking of which, number 1, Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, gonna be facing off against number 27, The Crew.
Oh, this is like the Kevin Van Ord special. I'm going to talk about the Assassin's
Ubisoft
Creed
Brawl.
game.
Okay, go for it.
Where does that sound? So this game looked super boring because all they did was show like boat stuff and walking, and then all of a sudden at the Sony press conference, they show the actual game, and it's like
Sneaking through the jungle.
sneaking through the jungle, and it's like, oh, I want to spend 20 hours playing in that jungle. Because it just looks jaw-dropping. Like those guys know art.
And it's all
direction.
seamless, and like you're going around in your ship and going to islands, and like there's no loading times. Like now you jump off
from burning buildings and leap onto the ship, and then just
then
like,
off
take the
you
helm
go.
and boom.
Yeah, it looks really cool. But then there's the crew. I love Ubisoft's
Very
lineup.
different kind of game.
Very different kind of game. So it's a driving game from the folks that made Driver San Francisco.
Announced during the Ubisoft press conference.
Yes, absolutely. But it has this sort of way, this MMO style thing where people are being brought together for different races, and like cars that you see might be other players. So it's kind of like Test Drive Unlimited combined with Burnout.
It's kind of
like
if this is, you're kind of lost. We're all lost. It's a Journey kart racer.
Journey kart racer.
That's all you need to know.
Way to help us get back on
Thank
track,
you,
Tom.
Tom.
McShay. That is super good.
That's
I will
helpful.
say, during the demo, the dude told me they got a player in like a souped-up Lamborghini. He said drive coast to coast. Took him about an hour and 15 minutes to drive the world map of the Crew from coast to coast. Unless I'm thinking of a different driving game, which I hope
No, that's the one.
not.
You're talking about the right one.
Yes, thank you, Kevin Van Ord. All right, that is a Ubisoft brawl. Let's see which developers and games go head-to-head with the next picks. We've got number 26, The Bureau, XCOM Declassified, facing off against number 10, Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze.
Man, see, this is a tough one for me now. I was super disappointed when Retro announced their new game is Donkey Kong. But then
Why is that?
Because I wanted them to do something new and unique, but then I picked up the controller and it's great.
And
And
it
it
just
looks
feels good.
gorgeous and it's super fun. And now Dixie makes a return. She's the female simian sidekick who can fly with her really weird hair. Like,
She's
let's
just
cut
got
to the
really
chase.
long pigtails that load-bearing.
Yeah,
Can create enough downdraft for her to get airborne.
I don't understand it.
Hey man, it's the law of the jungle.
But then the other game's really
Physical laws of the jungle, yes.
This other game is really
the Bureau
interesting,
seems interesting. The problem with that game, I think, from if I'm a GameSpot reader, viewer, like people want to dislike that game intensely because they want their XCOM to be a strategy game.
But they just got a wonderful XCOM strategy game like a few
They
months ago.
did. So, but I think that's going to be what holds it back. But I will say it was one of my favorite banners at E3. Like they have the banners outside.
That is a big one. That is a big one.
Yeah.
I mean, after all, this is the People's Choice Best of E3 specifically.
That's true.
The banner.
This is an interesting point. How much do you think people are going to take into account the E3 showing
Oh,
of the game
God,
versus
none.
the just general opinion about the game?
Zero.
It's
and
hard.
And they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Like this is your gut reaction of what you've seen on these games from their inception into whatever we are right now.
Or is it your measured diagnosis of the publisher's presence at a trade show? Probably not the latter.
Probably not.
All right, XCOM, the Bureau XCOM Declassified actually got a lot of surprising GameSpot editors really like enjoying the time they spent with it.
Yeah. Oh, it could be very well really good.
Who knows?
So-
Coming up next, it's number 13, Forza Motorsport 5, facing off against number 23, Saints Row 4.
Whoa.
So Forza, I don't play Forza. I only really play the arcadey ones. But
Okay.
this game sounds really interesting because they're doing away with AI completely. There's no AI. Instead, they just they figure out how Chris Waters and Sean McInnes play, and then they imbue that personality into your opponent cars. So it sounds like a really interesting way to do that.
Tom.
Don't say it.
Drivatar!
Okay, I want to be clear though.
That's it.
That's just a different kind of AI. It's an adaptive AI. They're not getting rid of AI.
Well,
So I want to make sure that that's clear.
But
that
it's
we're
not AI in the traditional sense. Now it's mimicking how Kevin Van Ord plays racing games, which is poorly. So
You shush your mouth.
I think that's a really interesting step for a franchise I don't care about otherwise.
So apparently, well, what's the other one here? Saints Row 4. So did we have this on the show floor, right?
man.
Or on
We
the
had it on
on the stage show?
I just could not stop smiling during that entire demo because as absurd as Saints Row the Third was, Saints Row 4 is like, yep, we're going like 8 degrees of absurdity higher. You're now the president. Also, there's an alien invasion that's created this Matrix-like scenario. So in addition to all the mayhem you can wreak in Steelport, we're going to create virtual world, like basically like a Dante's Inferno of nightmare realms for each of the characters in the games that you get to explore, which just strikes me as they're laying the groundwork for them to just be able to go super bonkers, over the top, even more so than Saints Row the Third and Saints Row the 4. Therefore, looks wonderful and delightful, and throwing dudes into Stuff E, which is always fun.
Yes.
All right, let's take a look now at the list of all the 32 games. This latest matchup, of course, Forza Motorsport 5 versus Saints Row 4. But here we are. These are the games that we're picking from. Of course, even with 32, there are games that we felt, that other editors felt passionate about at E3 that we really liked that did not make this list. Any of you guys want to mention in particular? Just give a little shout out.
Transistor.
Transistor is
Yeah.
a big one. There's also Killer is Dead, which I thought was really, really fun.
So if you folks are curious about games that, piqued our interest during E3, Transistor, Killer is Dead, those are 2 of them.
Spelunky for the Vita.
Spelunky for the Vita, which it's
Doesn't
a good
matter
thing
if
it
it's
isn't
old.
on here because
Yeah.
Game of Show right there.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, let's keep on moving with our bracket creation for the People's Choice Best of E3 2013. If you folks are just joining us, a quick reminder what we're doing here. We're basically setting the field for a tournament of voting, and y'all are going to be voting to determine the People's Choice Best of E3 award. That voting starts on Friday the 21st, but as with our last People's Choice contest for our People's Choice Game of the Year, word of mouth matters a lot. If games can get a little momentum, get them through some tough matchups, then they can carry them through. This is definitely not a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and see what the next matchup is, as you guys are hopefully seeing some of your favorites get matched up here already.
Excite!
All right, I'm going to pick the 2 numbers. Get out of there. All right, what will they be? The first number is 14, Halo Spartan Assault, and facing off against number 31, Titanfall.
Well,
Oh my.
so let's start with Titanfall.
Okay.
That's Respawn's game. These are the guys that used to be at Infinity Ward.
Yep, who basically designed the Call of Duty that launched the phenomenon, Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Yeah, and it's lots of robots, as far as we can tell.
You control
Lots
humans,
of
and then you
robots.
jump
It's
in.
some robots.
You jump in mechs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
this
armored
is
suits.
This is
I
a
guess.
multiplayer only game. There is no single player, and the biggest hook is multiplayer is the versatility. It's almost got parkour elements. You have gravity boots to let you jump, rocket boots maybe, and then you can
Little
run.
jetpack. Yeah, here you see some of it.
You
You
see
can do
some,
wall jumps, you can
running
do these
along
wall
walls.
You run along walls, which is cool, and then the mechs themselves are cool. And there's also not Kevin. Justin Calvert played this, and he talked about this really interesting mode where at the end of if you win, then you have to like run back to your base at the end. And you have 1 life to do it, and the enemies are still trying to kill you. So it's like a winner take all type thing for like your
Really?
points at the end. And
runs.
like
Sure.
I think that sounds really like
That sounds really cool.
This is not necessarily my genre. This looks like a really cool multiplayer shooter.
I think my favorite little touch here is how the mechs will, when you get close to your mech, grab you and then put you inside of it. So you can approach from most any angle to get into your mech. Your mech will like respond. You don't have to walk around in front to get it in.
God.
Just all in the service of creating this dynamic, this fast-paced battlefield.
It looks pretty cool.
Yeah. But
Okay,
now-
so the other
Halo.
game, we love Halo.
But-
Halo, and of course Halo
Normally.
made a big bit of a splash at the Microsoft press conference with
The reveal.
They
Yeah.
showed Master Chief facing off against some giant weird desert
We're not-
robot thing, but
we're
that's
not
not what we're
talking
talking
about-
about
we're not
now.
talking about that.
It's Halo Spartan Assault, a game for Windows 8 devices, which is your Windows Phone or your Surface tablet.
Yeah, so now we're looking at it now, and you kind of get the idea. It's a top-down shooter
Yep.
for Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8. I'm covered. I got a Surface.
Are you
I
gonna,
can play
are you
this.
gonna Halo here?
I will Halo.
Commander Sarah
Do you
Palmer?
know how little there is to play on my Surface, Chris Waters? I will therefore Halo. But it looks pretty straightforward, right? It's Halo, but it's a top-down thing.
It does, and so we got Halo fans. Maybe I don't know how excited they're going to be about this divergence from the core Halo first-person shooting. Given when was the last time this happened? Halo Wars, not particularly the best.
I liked Halo Wars.
Sure,
Halo Wars
people
was
Rest
liked
fine.
it.
in peace, Ensemble Studios.
People liked it, but is this thing going to light their fire in the way that a new IP Titanfall, one of the biggest new
No,
announcements
it's
of the
gonna
show.
It's gonna be
does.
like 89-11 or something.
Gonna
Like,
be
this is-
steamrolled. Tom McShay's calling
No
it at
chance.
89-11. Mathematically impossible, but still lopsided. Probably what he was going for.
I don't know what.
That seems about right. That adds up to 100.
12.
11. You said 11 too.
Eat crow on that one, folks. My bad. All right. Next matchup, we got number 3. It's Battlefield 4 facing off against number 28, The Division.
Oh,
This is
dear.
gonna be tough.
This is a Tom McShay special right here. So
Yeah,
the
we know.
Division, the Division is like the theme of E3 was like these journey type games where you jump into and out of multiplayer just in your single player. And the Division is all about that. It's Tom Clancy's latest shooter in an urban environment.
It's the latest shooter to have Tom Clancy's name attached to it,
Yes.
for which Ubisoft needs no prior approval because they bought his name.
Yeah.
So weird.
This is one of my. This was for me one of my top games
Oh, yeah.
of the show because it combines things that I loved and like it combines shooting. I love to shoot. And it combines this sort of versatile, again, we talked about this before about how players are just sort of brought together as the needs of the mission demand.
That's right. You're seeing, the demo where it's a squad going through this sort of post, some degree of societal breakdown situation. But then at the end, they encounter another squad, and
There's
then
a
they start
dog.
facing off.
There was a dog in that trailer.
Yeah, that dog. That doesn't look like a friendly kind of dog.
It was a puppy.
That was definitely not a
so
puppy.
I'm going to vote for Division in this one. The other one
it's got
is
dogs in it.
The other one is Battlefield
Battlefield
4,
4,
which it uses the Frostbite engine, which means destruction.
Lots of discussion. We saw the skyscrapers falling down,
All
and when
of
we
them.
saw like the, I don't know, like there was a what was it that like basically slid down?
You're in a parking garage in a substructure, and a tank was going by above, and then the player, I think, blew the support column, and so
Right.
the tank just went plunk and like kaplunked down, basically taking it out of commission. So increased destructibility certainly on display during Battlefield 4's E3 demo. And they talked a little bit about Commander Mode,
little
bringing
bit.
back that series, standby from the past.
Because that was out of 3, right?
Yeah, it wasn't in 3.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, but that's going to be a tough matchup, I think. The Division, a hot new one, debuted at the end of Ubisoft's press conference, versus Battlefield 4, a Titan, showing up again and flexing its muscle.
Yes.
To the next matchup.
Whoa.
A little dramatic flair for you there, Van Ort.
I'm proud.
You like it? All right. Go back in there. Okay, number 16, Killzone Shadowfall. Gonna face off against number 5, Beyond Two Souls.
Well, these are
We'll talk about
such
the one we
similar
know.
games.
So we know Killzone. Like, that is a shooty game.
It is a shooty game. It's
gonna be a lot of shooting in
It
that
looks
game.
nice though because we've got the usual teal and orange.
Short.
Now we've got
ISA versus Helgas.
Now we've got green involved because we've finally left, Helgen. We've returned to Vecta, and it looks
got trees there on
green.
Vecta.
They got
Why
trees.
do you know so much about the story?
But
of
otherwise-
Killzone?
Well, this is actually, the story does look kind of neat because it looks like a Berlin Wall kind of situation, magnified to the Killzone degree.
Can we just zoom out for a second? Did you just say the Berlin Wall situation is neat?
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly.
Go on.
You got my meaning precisely. The division of two people who are contentious towards each other.
Yes.
In this case, but also looks very, very pretty.
It looks very pretty. It also looks like more Killzone.
Sure.
So, and I suppose that's kind of what we want. I want the weight of the shooting that the series is known for. So let's hope that makes a return.
And against the umpteenth sequel in the Beyond franchise.
Oh, God. So
Beyond Two Souls, a new game from Quantic Dream.
I
the
have
folks who
no
made Heavy
idea.
Rain.
What is this game? Because they showed it at E3 and they showed Ellen Page because she is the star of this game.
Yes.
Right.
And they
Along
showed her
with
like
Willem Dafoe.
in a military environment, like in the desert. I don't know what this game is anymore.
So we know that she's got like some kind of psychic thing
Yeah.
going on.
Yes, she has a companion called Aiden who accompanies her all the time and gives her some powers. The CIA basically came to her where she was working with a therapist, and they're like, nope, now you're in a CIA special agent training program. And so that's what we see in this demo, which
Yeah.
ends with her going to Somalia, I think, to assassinate a warlord.
How do you play this game?
Well, I think this is the most playable game-looking stuff that you've seen yet of Beyond
But
Two
how,
Souls.
like, is it? I don't.
It doesn't. It's not showing.
It's not almost entirely contextual button prompt based like Heavy Rain was. Like you're pressing buttons and moving analog sticks for this, and it's not going to be appearing on screen.
Okay.
That's going to be fascinating.
Also, you can switch and play as Aiden as any time.
And it's going to make us cry, as we know, because it's going to have at least 10 million polygons.
There's going to be so many emotions in this game, dude.
So many emotions.
Okay.
We should take a look at what, because we're halfway through.
Okay.
So we should maybe take a look at the matchups so far.
Yeah.
Right?
Pick one out that you think is going to be the biggest landslide.
The biggest
I already
landslide.
talked about that one. Halo versus
no,
Fill in
don't
the
talk
blank.
about that one because I did bad math on
No. I think Bayonetta versus Murdered, maybe?
Soul Suspect? That doesn't seem like a landslide opportunity.
No,
to me.
the problem with the Bayonetta 2 Faces is that it's an exclusive to the Wii U, which is a struggling console right now.
True.
So, and it's going up against a new IP, and a lot of people love Bayonetta, but it's not going to be the landslide that Halo is against whatever it goes against.
Titanfall
true.
is what Halo is
I
against.
think that last one is
Halo's
actually,
not going to win against Titanfall.
I know, Titanfall's gonna
guaranteed.
crush it. I
Oh,
already
right.
said that.
Oh, that's okay.
I think the most interesting matchup is the last one. It's 2 exclusives to Sony, 1 PS4 exclusive, 1 PS3 exclusive. And I have no idea where the Killzone and where the Heavy Rain / Indigo Prophecy fans are going to wait. I have no idea where it's going to go. I mean, it feels like it's going to be 51-49 with that one.
What's your pick on that one?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm going to go with Beyond because I don't know what it is, and it could be interesting.
It's
but
intriguing.
Killzone is certainly the safer choice as far as like which game I would rather
Also,
own.
it will almost certainly have better multiplayer.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Who
yes.
knows?
I don't know. The Beyond Two Souls multiplayer could be
Soul
groundbreaking.
versus Soul
Yes.
mode. That would be terrible.
There are two.
I hope that doesn't exist. Okay. All right, so the first half of our bracket selection has concluded. We're going to move on to the second half and pick some new matchups here from the bingo machine. Number 1, 22, or sorry, I'm confusing you guys there. It's 22.
Number 1.
Rayman Legends.
Nice.
22 versus number 12, Fantasia Music Evolved.
Oh my lord!
It's the Battle of the
Ooh,
Whimsy.
it is again.
You've been
and
saving that
musical
one.
elements as well.
This is okay. So Fantasia just looks like it's something you want to show everybody who likes games or doesn't like games or breeds, or you just want to show them this game. It looks.
It looks great, and it makes it feel like I'm gonna be able to like fulfill my dream. Like this is like armchair conducting in a sense, and I'm really looking forward to that moment where I can flail around and feel like I'm actually progressing with the music. And I don't know, like this is up my alley.
On the stormy mountaintop with your wizard hat.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, it's the guys from Harmonix just know.
They know what they're doing. They know music, and they know fun.
And they know motion control.
Yeah,
the Kinect.
they're one of the few that actually gets it right.
So I'm looking forward to this one. But then the other game,
Rayman Legends.
Sean McInnes's game of the show.
Really?
I mean, he played it.
Well, of
he
course.
He loved it because it's just the art design is just fantastic.
It looks adorable, and it looks so fun. I mean, Rayman before was fun, right?
Yes.
And now it's just more fun.
It's
like,
more fun.
We are not the enemies of fun.
It's probably
we
one
love
of the most
fun.
exuberant games shown at E3. One of the levels they showed off, if you folks didn't get a chance to catch it, was Rayman Legends is a platformer, and so you have like one of these levels that pushes you through by having that threat on the left side of the screen, but it pushes you through in time with a musical score. So the musical score was Eye of the Tiger, but played by
Because of
with the
course.
Spanish guitar in like that style, and it sounded wonderful. Both these games doing cool things with music, and of course, their art styles just really. Just kind of nourishes the soul a little bit.
But with one disturbing element that we see here and now, which is this infantilized character with physics in her top half.
I don't understand what you're getting at.
So, okay, we'll discuss this another day.
Movies freaking you out?
Just the fact that, yes.
Fair enough. That is fair enough. That's Rayman and his sidekicks going at it in Rayman Legends. That's facing off against Harmonix game,
Yes.
which is Fantasia Evolved,
Yes.
which honestly I wasn't really sold on until I saw it being played, and then just the excitement and the joy of like moving along with the song really just got to me, even though the person doing it was 15 feet away across a noisy convention hall. So that could be an interesting one. Coming up next, we're pulling 2 more numbers. The first one is number 7, which is Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2. That's going to be facing off against number 29, The Witcher 3.
Oh, dear Lord.
Wild Hunt.
Okay, can we start with The Witcher 3?
Yes, we can.
Because I want to say The Witcher 3 looks awesome.
Oh my goodness, does it ever.
And video editor Andy Bauman was with me when we went to see The Witcher 3, and it looks just amazing. And like,
are you talking about just purely visuals or just
no,
in
just
general, the whole
everything,
package?
like everything that was in the presentation. I've never seen cooler monster design than the bosses that they showed.
You have played the Souls games.
Yes, I have never seen a cooler monster design
Wow, that is
than what I
bold
saw.
claims from
It is a
Kevin Van
bold
Orden.
claim. And it looks like they really want to do something with the open world. I mean, they're talking about how much bigger, 35 times as big as the world in The Witcher 2. That's huge.
That seems like a big number.
That is.
So-
It does have the worst subtitle in a while.
Wild Hunt?
That's a
But
bad
it's-
one. That
but
is
it's
like a
totally
Do you know what the Wild
relevant.
Hunt is, Tom?
That's like a Cabela hunting :
No,
Wild Hunt.
It's a cabal of the most powerful fairies who pursued
whatever.
the Witcher throughout his. There's like a mythology
It's-
behind it, and this whole.
That's fine. It's not a
Aw,
great name.
Can we just like watch
But
the
it's
rest
a
of this trailer and you guys
We
stop
could
talking?
totally do that.
Yeah, I don't mind.
No, we
but
can
yeah,
talk
this game
about
looks
other
this
things.
game looks super rad and fun,
Oh,
and I
man.
love the series anyway.
I hope he doesn't
And
kill
plus,
those wolves though.
plus
'cause
he's got
The wolves
a
want to kill
beard.
him, man. Survival of the Witcher.
Geralt
Survival
has a
of the-
beard now, and this makes all the difference.
Oh, Geralt of Rivia. You are a badass through and through. All right.
Castlevania.
Speaking of badasses, Simon Belmont, a.k.a. Dracula.
What did you just
You just
Is that right?
did you just spoil
did you just
things?
I
spoil-
spoiled Castlevania Lords of Shadow, the DLC ending, yes.
Oh, this is
Look,
awkward.
that game came out like years ago.
Awkward.
We'll then continue to talk
We'll
about
just-
Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2.
So the first one was a little rough because it had moments of greatness and then had moments of blandness. But like, if they learn from that and then they can they hone their
What was greatness about it? What was part
the
of
art design and the music and some of the levels were so focused and the combat is
Amazing
really the combat on its own
music.
is really fun. But then they would kind of get bogged down in puzzles sometimes and pacing issues. So like if they can just hone this into something a little tighter. I'm giddy because they know what they're doing. They know how to make a great game.
But they too are going like open world-ish, right? So
In
I
this
don't
big
I don't
city, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's tighter might be a misnomer. Just improve the stuff from before, and that's what we want. But it looks like it's going to be bigger. It has the potential to be less focused in a certain way. So just because of the size.
Ever the challenge of open world games. That's Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2 facing off against The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt as our bracketing for GameSpot's People's Choice Best of E3 Award continues. Once again, we're setting the brackets, folks, but it's going to be up to you and your voting to decide. That voting starts this Friday, the 21st, and then it's going to get underway. The Browns are going to proceed from there until the People's Choice winner is crowned. The next matchup, shall we?
Sure.
All right. Fire this bingo bad boy up. You can't take them out the top. You gotta come out this little side. I can't suppose if you could take them out the top, they would all just rocket up into space. Industrial design here on GameSpot.com. Number 20, Pikmin 3.
Ooh.
Gonna get totally stomped by number 19, Need for Speed Rivals. I just said that to troll Tom McShay.
We'll
I don't
start by
actually know how this is
talking-
gonna shake out.
So Need for Speed, like a lot of other games, is doing like the single player is multiplayer.
Which is to say, you're racing. You're driving around in your world. You take on a checkpoint race. You're trying to run from the cops, whatever. Your buddy can hop in and challenge you. You can accept that challenge with the press of a button, and then you're off.
Wow. Yes.
That- I mean,
exactly what
yeah.
Chris said.
Painting the picture here.
I don't know what else there is to say about this game. It's another Need for Speed.
It rains in it.
It rains and there's cars. And did you see how cute those Pikmin were? Like
Are you already moving past Need for Speed?
I don't know.
This game deserves
You put
a chance
Pikmin on
to
the
shine.
table. Tom McShay is going to talk about Pikmin as
That's-
soon as possible.
that's so
It's just the
true.
way of his
So
That
it's-
is so true.
So I'm gonna actually flip. So before we just talk about like games in general, I'll just talk about what was at E3 for Pikmin,
All right.
which was a first for us at this E3 special award show.
Talk about the E3 specific showing of Pikmin 3.
So they finally showed off the co-op and the competitive, and that's the only thing they showed off. And they're borrowing it from
this is a
Pikmin.
bingo battle
2, yes.
competitive mode that you're getting to look at.
This is grief-tastic because it's two Olimars in one field and going against each other head to head, and you're striving for the same resources, and
Yep.
you're also messing with other people.
You're also trying to block the other person from
Yes.
getting a bingo, 4 in a row vertically, diagonally, or horizontally.
Yeah. So when I played, I was playing a Nintendo rep, and like I killed a big Pikmin, big enemy with all of my Pikmin, and it was an exhausting battle. When I won, I was so happy, but then I didn't have enough to carry it. So then the jerk I was playing, and he's such a great guy, but such a jerk, carries away my victory trophy, and then harvested himself, and he wins because of it.
Laughing all the way.
And it's just fantastic. Like it's weird to think of Pikmin in a competitive milieu, but it works so perfectly. So I'm giddy after what they showed at E3 because I think Pikmin 3 will be awesome.
I didn't
Man,
know
now
if
you got me
could
really
possibly
excited.
I didn't think you could get more giddy about Pikmin in general,
I
but
know.
lo and behold. Kevin, any thoughts on Need for Speed Rivals versus Pikmin 3?
I have no real thoughts on this issue
Use
at
your
all.
vote. Which way do you think popular opinion is going to sway? Need for Speed, a franchise that has had a yearly installment for almost 15 years running, give or take a few years here and there, versus Pikmin 3, long-awaited, beloved, but like one of the more minor lights in Nintendo's constellation.
I've got to say that Pikmin takes this because I think Nintendo. I think this is like in terms of like those whimsical games. I think this is the best Nintendo showed, and I think I think that's it.
Do you
that's
think
it.
people are just desperate for something Nintendo to love?
A little bit.
No, I think it's legitimately awesome on its own terms.
It could be two
Don't put
things.
words in my mouth.
It can be two
I was
things.
just asking the questions, Van Ord. All right, next matchup, folks. We're firing up this crazy ball machine, and it's number 25, South Park: The Stick of Truth, wielding fart jokes against number 15, Infamous
Oh
Second Son.
Lord!
Wow, well, that's a good one. So Infamous is like you bought a PS4 at launch, and then it goes into that doldrums, right? Like a few months. No, like a few months after launch is Infamous, which is like
If all goes according to schedule.
it's supposed to be out in the first quarter of 2014, and it looks like they're. I mean, there's always going to be social commentary with it because they love to explore the evil and the bad side and like what it means to have powers.
In
So I
this
love
case,
that.
you've got the government cracking down on people with these abilities.
It's like X-Men.
Yes,
Yes.
it is similar to the X-Men storyline. But here also, Second Son, he's literally the younger brother of this sort of stand-up guy who works in government. He's a politician, so you have that family conflict, and then that's writ large on societal conflict, plus smoke-fueled flaming superpowers.
It's weird that the thing I'm looking forward to most is actually the story because I think they're going to knock it out of the park with the story. It sounds really interesting on a conceptual level, but then yeah, you can do crazy stuff in an open world, and Sucker Punch is so good at that.
Yeah.
So this is like my favorite thing about the PS4 right now is this game. So do you want to talk about the other game?
Stick of Truth?
South
Yeah, we
Park: The
definitely
Stick
can.
of Truth.
So, of course, one of the big news about this game was that people had to yank down one of the screenshots showing, I think it was Cartman with the big flaming fart attack.
That's true. That was, yeah.
This happened.
They sent out,
This is a thing that actually
go ahead and
happened.
use these images with your story. Uh-oh, the ESRB might not be happy that we're putting out like butt fart pictures, but lo and behold, the ESRB doesn't have jurisdiction over that, so it's all
Don't
good.
worry about all the bloody decapitations showing up in screenshots, but this fart thing, it's a little over the top, and there was so much humor
Child
in this
beating.
particular trailer. I don't know. The whole thing looks really funny, and I actually watched Bigger, Longer, and Uncut this weekend
Wow.
just to get myself back in the mood. So,
So you're in the mood for the South Park Stick of
that
Truth?
that movie, I am, and
Oh my God.
that movie does not age, but I'm surprisingly not as shocked as I used to
Shocking.
be
I'm
over
shocked
that
you're not
film.
Oh,
shocked.
jaded Van Ord,
I
no
know,
longer shocked.
I'm cynical about South Park.
I
That
stopped
can't be.
having sex with the devil. So that matchup is Infamous
Hot.
Second Son, a PlayStation franchise. Those games are pretty great, but then South Park's game history not so illustrious.
But it's being made by Obsidian, and they know their stuff. I have no fears.
I don't know that Obsidian. And I mean, in one respect, yes, I'm inspired to see more. On the other hand, it's also Obsidian. It's Obsidian, the
They're
people
awesome.
with great imagination, and it's Obsidian, the
Awesome.
people that make games that don't really work
Man,
right.
I will put up with a little bit of jank to get a whole lot of awesome.
We'll see.
A
We'll
little bit
see.
of chance to get a whole lot of awesome. We'll see how those games turn out, but more importantly, what y'all at home think about it. When it comes to the voting, our next bracket matchup, I'm pulling out of the
We're being
Ballmatic
trolled.
8000. Number 9, Destiny, facing off against number 2, Batman Arkham Origins.
Whoa.
That's a tough matchup for Batman, isn't
It
it?
is a tough matchup for
So
Batman.
Batman, what did they show, Kevin, for Batman at E3 that got you excited?
I didn't see any Batman when I was at the
put
show.
you on the spot.
The only thing I saw was the artwork that I think looks fantastic.
Yeah.
It's going back to the bureau, like when I talked about the bureau, because I didn't really have much to say beyond the artwork that they showed, but the art looked so fantastic with all the faces and his wings, and I don't know.
So Batman's in a tough position because Rocksteady that proved you can make an awesome Batman game with the first two, Arkham Asylum and Arkham City.
Yeah.
They're not making this.
Yeah.
So this is like a tough position to be in as a developer, that they have to compete against like the predecessors. But like everything they've shown, it's another Batman game, and those games are like as good as anything out there.
But with some new voice actors, if I recall correctly,
Yes.
some moving around,
Little movie
as it
pieces.
were.
But yeah, this is a tough battle for it right now because Destiny's my guess for what wins the Reader's Choice.
Yeah.
I think it's like they just knocked it out of the park.
Do you
at
think
E3.
that's pure Bungie excitement and love, or do you think it's people getting legitimately super intrigued by this new world that Bungie's crafting?
Both.
It's both.
Yeah.
Bungie has proven they can make worlds, and what they showed looks. I mean, it's doing more stuff that we've talked about with the Crew and Need for Speed, where it's single player is multiplayer.
Yep.
In the Division, I think there's a bunch of games doing that, but it
it's
just
a big theme at E3 this year.
like this game just looks fantastic, and I was like so jaded going into this because I was like, oh, another Bungie game. I know what they do, and then I saw this, and I was like, oh my lord, this kind of looks like what I want Borderlands to be. Like it just looks. Because there's got that loot aspect and the competitive aspect. I'm so all over this.
Totally agree. And I don't know, there's something about watching the shooting. It didn't look like it had, I mean, I don't know, like I haven't felt it under my fingers yet, but it didn't remind me of Halo shooting. And that actually excites me. I mean, Halo has great shooting,
Sure.
but I didn't want Destiny to feel like Halo, or it wasn't going to get to be its own
Are
thing.
you looking how good this looks?
I'm looking, it looks fantastic.
The
they've got
artists
a-
at Bungie,
They've
man.
got a whole solar system and hundreds of years of history that they've sort of set themselves up. It's the mysteries of this world, the adventures you could get up to. I
Plus-
think this is a heavy favorite to win
Yeah.
this
Yes.
People's Choice
Plus
Award.
continuing additional content, so that hopefully it won't get boring. and
Never
old.
gets old.
Never gets, okay,
Kevin
that's a
Van
cliche.
Noord.
You could
That's a
play it
cliche,
for
but
infinity
still.
hours.
Still, I'm really looking forward to this, and I didn't expect that I would be because I'm not a huge Halo person. But this has me, or Borderlands for that matter. But this has me legit excited.
Yes.
It does, because if nothing else, you're a sucker for space magic.
That's true. I am a sucker for
Is there
space
anyone
magic.
who's not a sucker for space magic?
I don't want to meet that person.
Oh God.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't mind. Number 24, it's Scribblenauts Unmasked, and number 17, Mario Kart 7.
This is an all-Tom commentary.
Okay, so
Go.
Scribblenauts is a game in which you can conjure anything you imagine by just typing it in. And this one
what?
uses the DC license, which is kind of like crazy because like the first thing you do when you play Scribblenauts is type in Mario, or you type in Robin Williams or whatever licensed person or thing.
The Robin Williams license.
Now
very
you can
coveted.
type in Batman and he works. He's actually in the game as the Batman, or Flash if you're weird and you like Flash.
Wait, he's pulling up the Legion of Doom, the entire Legion of Doom? Solomon Grundy's there.
I know. Like this is, Scribblenauts is just
pretty fantastic.
so fun. Like even if it's the same basic game over and over, it's just really fun. And who doesn't want to like conjure? I don't know. Give me a Batman character. Robin.
That looks pretty
We could
delightful.
kill Robin over and over again.
Oh my goodness, terrible. Folks, I believe I misspoke earlier and said Mario Kart 7. This is Mario Kart 8. Of
Oh,
course,
God.
Recently announced for the Wii U. You've got some hover car aspects in there, and you guys, it's Mario Kart? Is it
I know.
more Mario Kart, or is it more Mario Kart?
But they had the whole thing with like sideways and
Yeah.
upside down tracks and stuff. Is that the biggest thing for you, Tom, or is it because it's more Mario Kart? What gets you excited about
So
this?
I wasn't excited at all. And it's one of those things where Nintendo shut it off, and I just kind of groaned because it's more Mario Kart, and I've seen it all the
you guys are
time.
doing that again, neato.
And then Justin played it, and he's like, I'm giddy about this. And I was like, why are you so lame, Justin? And then I played it, and it's just incredible, and it's so hard to explain and capture in video, but when you pick it up, it just feels so right. Like the controls are so perfect, and the course design is so fun. And it's a hard game to get excited about, but as soon as you play it, you're going to be just like swept away all over again.
Death to
Super
Snakers.
stoked.
I know, Death to Snakers for sure.
All right, folks, we're coming down to the final two matchups here in GameSpot's bracket drawing session for the Best of E3 People's Choice Award. The penultimate matchup here is going to be number 8, Dark Souls 2, facing off against number 32, Watch Dogs.
Oh my lord!
I think we might have the most contentious matchup.
This is pretty
of the
contentious,
bracket yet.
even for us, because we
No.
love Dark. Oh, wait, speak for yourself. Besides Dark Souls 2, Watch Dogs is like my most anticipated upcoming game, probably.
Watch Dogs, of course,
So-
made a huge
It's
splash.
kind of the
last
same
year.
for me too. I mean, Dark Souls is my all-time favorite game.
Yep.
So Dark Souls 2 is obviously in the driver's seat to be like the most anticipated. But then I'm from Chicago, and Watch Dogs looks like it's an awesome open world game in Chicago.
Well, let's talk about Dark Souls 2.
What do we even say about these
It's
games?
more Dark Souls. Now, you and I didn't play it.
No,
but
I don't
know
wanna-
that-
I don't wanna
but
play this
Jonathan,
game.
I think Jonathan played
Until it
against.
comes out.
until
Until it comes out.
Yes.
But I think Jonathan Toyad played this, and he played the Mirror Knight boss that was there. And by all accounts, this game is still hard.
So,
So-
at the Mirror Night, there's candles, like when you go to the church and then there's candles you can light.
Sure.
Every time that you die or other people die, I'm not sure who it is, like a candle is lit.
Oh, really?
So that like that room could just be a burning, scary place if you just keep dying to the mirror. Like it's just those touches of like cementing this terrible world that you're in.
Yep.
Without
With that, like,
words.
splash of connectivity to other
Yes.
players and other adventurers, giving you that like little taste of camaraderie,
Yes.
even though this is a solo adventure.
Well, it's
for the
so
most part.
important that you realize you're going through this game with other people who are also struggling, like because it really does pull you together, and you want to get out, and it's.
Is this the Mirror Knight?
Yeah, we saw the Mirror Knight there briefly, I think, with the the knight with the mirror. Yes, right here.
I mean, I can't even really coherently talk about Dark Souls 2 because
We're just really
it's
giddy
the
about
sequel to
it.
my favorite game ever.
A lot of excitement, and I will say
That bridge is great.
It so reminds me of the Tower of Latria as well from Demon Souls. Like and then that gets me excited. Now I'm just excited. Can we just play Dark Souls all day?
That's what
Dark
I wanna
Souls
do every
2,
day.
Tani Murasan, the director of the game, the only guest who we had up on the stage to draw a crowd specifically for that guest and then have autograph demands later. Dudes were pulling out their Dark Souls games they had brought to E3 just to get them
Oh
signed.
my lord.
So clearly a fan favorite, but it made a giant splash last year at the Ubisoft press conference, was the talk of E3. Back this year to make a really strong showing is Watch Dogs.
Watch Dogs looks amazing.
So what they normally showed with this was a lot of shooty stuff, which kind of looked boring because I've seen it before. And then the Sony press conference showed like a really long demo where
And-
you saw there's so much flexibility in how you approach this
And they
world.
let the game breathe. That's one of the things I liked about the Sony press conference in general, is that they let the games breathe and sort of speak for themselves without having to rush through it. Like I was actually frustrated with the Metal Gear Solid 5 bit because
Well, it's getting a little.
they kept speeding things up. But this,
Yeah.
but with this, like they let it. You know what I mean, though. But like
Yes,
this had time to breathe, and we got a chance to see what is this really like moment to moment, and how flexible is this. And I feel so much better. I was so worried before that it was just talk of flexibility,
Yeah.
but then in actuality, maybe it was just like a regular old shooter kind of thing.
I like the idea of
Now-
like making those metal things come out of the ground and make the car stop driving, and then you make that person stop living through whatever method you like to kill with.
I like the idea
your
they just
pick.
make them not live anymore.
This is-
that's
With
what
your
we
whacking
call it
stick.
now.
This is
Shoot
like
'em with your gun,
this is
shoots.
what I'm gonna christen my PS4 with. This is it.
Really, you
Watch
think
Dogs?
this will be the first PS4 game you play?
Hopefully, unless I have to review something. But I mean, my personal PS4, like I'm gonna buy this game, buy the system, and just play it, and
Grab
go
that
back
DualShock 4.
go back to Chicago. It's the Chicago I know and love.
I feel like Ubi has
The
that.
human trafficking Chicago.
So what's gonna win? What's gonna win this one? This is the worst matchup.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Watch Dogs is gonna take it with the reader vote.
I think Dark
think.
Souls.
Really?
I think Dark Souls fans are as rabid and crazy and awesome.
I
as
think there's
any
no
fan
loser
base.
here. I think that these sound like both really awesome games.
But there literally will be one.
There literally will be a loser,
Man.
but
That's going to be determined by you folks. When the voting starts on Friday, we've got one more matchup now. If you haven't already guessed what it is through assiduous home deduction and note-taking, I'll tell you right now, it's number 6, Call of Duty Ghosts,
God.
against
Versus
number
Project.
21, Project Spark.
So Kevin, you love Call of Duty. So talk about
Call of Duty.
the dogs and the fishies.
it's all about the dog of duty
I
at this stage, right?
I've pretty much
Duty.
spent 10,
No,
of the,
duty.
10 minutes of the 15-minute
Duty.
demo talking about dogs with the Call of Duty guests.
Yeah, so it's so easy to hate.
His
on
name
Call
is
of Duty 'cause
Riley.
It comes out every year, but it's like what they do no one else can do. Because how many games have tried to rip off Call of Duty and failed?
So many games try to be Call of Duty,
So
and nobody does it better than Call of Duty.
It seems
still.
so easy. It's just a corridor shooter, and you know the music's going to swell here, and there's going to be an explosion. But they do it like masterfully. It's like a science at this point, where they're just so perfect at it. So
They are expert. This series is an expert manipulator. I really do think that's what it comes down to. Is this is expert, manipulation, emotional manipulation, and gameplay manipulation.
So this
I think
one
that's what they do.
it might be tough if you're judging this based just solely on E3 because they didn't show any multiplayer.
That's true.
They just won't talk about it at all. So you have to judge it solely on single player, which is not always the strength of Call of Duty for a lot of people, but a lot of people don't think so. So this could be a tough matchup just in that regard if you're going strictly by the book.
Against Project Spark, which announced during the Microsoft press conference, creative suite to allows you to make games, have make worlds, make games, have adventures in those worlds. I feel like that got a really positive reaction from you, Kevin.
It did actually, and not only did I see it in the press conference, but I got to see a lot more of it when I went to a Microsoft event Monday night.
Okay.
And it looked really cool. I mean, you see there, you can make all sorts of things with it. Dual stick. There's a dual stick shooter, and there's third-person adventuring, and there's like a limbo side.
There's an Angry Birds alike. And
Yeah, and there's Geometry Wars alike, and that one's like a ball alike.
Marble
and there's-
Madness and Space Invaders.
But you get the idea, like you can do a lot. So in a sense, like it's reminiscent of Little Big Planet.
Yes.
But it looks like it's starting from sort of it's a different kind of tool set.
That was like Fez. That one where it rotated like Fez.
Yeah.
That was just like Fez.
And
Pretty
another,
neat.
and it also like it's not just coming to Xbox One and Xbox 360, but it's also coming to Windows 8. And one of the things that I got to do was play around on the touchscreen, the way they had it set up. So now here, like normally you'd probably get out your Surface or whatever you're going to use for it and do this kind of stuff.
Sure.
But they had like a big touchscreen TV right there, and I was like creating all this stuff, and it was super easy. I'm like going, I'm going to put this over here, and like I'm going to terraform, and like suddenly I was like,
That
look
seems
at this
pretty fun.
place that I made.
Man,
and
that
so
sounds pretty cool.
And then I got to
Also-
jump in and like walk around.
You can make like a land conveyance that you can just surf on the land and go.
Land conveyance.
Like,
I don't know.
Like Iceman with land.
It's like Iceman.
Yeah, it
with
was
land.
Iceman with land.
Yeah.
It looks pretty cool.
Landsman.
So that's Project Spark versus Call of Duty Ghosts, the final matchup in our Best of E3 People's Choice voting bracket. We've got all the matchups set now. Those are locked in. You folks can peruse them on the site. Guys, I think we're all in agreement that probably one of the most contentious was that penultimate matchup, that Dark Souls 2 versus
Watch
Dogs. Any other thoughts on these matchups that we've seen develop?
Well, what is your? I mean, I'm picking Destiny to win it all. What do you guys think?
Witcher 3.
To win it all.
Yeah.
Witcher 3 to win it all?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I think Dark
I'm going
Souls
out on a
2,
limb.
I think, Tom,
To
you're
win
really,
it all.
I think you're really right about how passionate people are about that game, how excited they are that game got a sequel, and that just it keeps snowballing into this like monumental excitement for Dark Souls 2. But of course, we are just 3 votes between us. You guys are legion votes out there, and on Friday, June 21st, the voting begins in earnest. Go to www.gamespot.com/bestofE3 to join in the first round voting. Pick your favorites, and then try to recruit people to your cause and try to see them through to the end when the Best of E3 GameSpot's People's Choice Award will be crowned. Thank you, folks, for joining us for the live stream. Thank you, Tom and Kevin, for providing your expert commentary and analysis and dealing with my terrible math. And, folks, see you back here on Friday, June 21st, as the voting for GameSpot's Best of E3 People's Choice Award begins.